Hey, this is Matt once again with about another video. This is a paid request from Jack Petrie. Thank you so much for your kindness. I really appreciate the paid request. Hopefully this will be a good video for you, hopefully. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topic, random movie news, or random topic, tier list, ranking, movie review, re-review, I already said that, commentary, reaction, video game playthrough, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. If you do send through PayPal, make sure to send it through the family and friends option. Otherwise, PayPal takes a cut of the money. Or you can send it through CashApp or Patreon, and people have asked about those. Those links are down below in the info box, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Now, Jack Petrie wanted me to do a list of my top 10 favorite horror films of the 21st century. Now, I wanted to read this because I thought this was very nice of him. He says, I know you're generally a fan of horror films before this era and before this time, so I wanted to hear your thoughts on the ones you liked from this era that we're currently in. I really enjoy listening to your reviews while I'm at work each day. They get me through. Love your passion for movies and discussing them. Keep up the good work, mate, Jack Petrie. I thought that was very kind of him to say. He didn't have to say that, but thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I'm glad this helps you out at work. So, sorry for the coughing and those. Now, the 21st century would be from 2001 to now, 2024. And there's actually a lot of films for me to choose from, so that's why it was kind of hard for me to have to narrow it down to 10. Now, it does get into the question of what merits as a horror film. Because there are films that have horror elements in it, but you could justify them more as action films or films of that nature. So there may be films on this list that you may not consider horror. Again, they're more like action films. But again, they have horror elements. Kind of like Aliens is more action and sci-fi, but there's a horror element. Predator people call action film, sci-fi film, but there's still horror elements in there. Now, whether it be because these involve like vampires or other type of creatures, that's why I kind of put it in the horror category. But again, if you view it as, well, that's more action, it's not horror, I can understand it, but if I left it off, then people may go, well, what about that movie? What about that movie? So I'd rather just explain now. And I'll put more on the list so that if you don't think that works, then the next one down will be just move it up and feel free. I know we're supposed to go backwards on this, but screw it. I'm going to go number 1 just because it's my list. Like, what was my favorite horror film so far of the past, really 20 years? Almost 25 years now, I think about it. I had to think of, I'm sitting there going, it would probably have to be, believe it or not, a remake. And that is the Hills of Eyes remake. Because while it is fairly similar to the original film, I'm not a fan of the original film. I never have been. When I think of Wes Craven's movies that I like, they're A Nightmare on Elm Street, Shocker, The People Under the Stairs, The Serpent and the Rainbow, Scream. It's not The Last House on the Left, and it's not The Hills of Eyes. I've never been a fan of those. I prefer the remakes of both of those. And the Hills of Eyes remake I remember seeing in the theater and really appreciating Alexander Aja's direction, the way the cinematography, the color timing on the film looked. I love the score by Tom and Dandy. I think it really brought a nice visual edge. It's very gory, it's very violent, it's very brutal. I like the lead guy, Aaron Stanford, who played the character Doug. I remember at the time I kind of looked like him. I had hair, had the same beard, the glasses. So I kind of joke with my friends, hey, I'm Doug from Hills of Eyes. I remember my old channel, I did a review. I had like a similar shirt to his, so I think I wore that. I'm not sure during the review or at least during the thumbnail. And I mean, that was on my old channel, so sadly it's no longer up, but I had such a good time watching that movie in the theater, especially the third act. That third act where from him going to the house, getting beaten up, put into that uh, fridge of death, freezer of death, with all the body parts, to that brutal fight where he's being thrown about, his fingers are cut off, he pretends that he's trying, and then he stabs the guy in the foot, he stabs him in the damn neck, he gets the axe and slams it down, the blood flying everywhere, everything done in camera, brutal, gory, Tambi effects, his broken glasses, he's mad, he's pissed, he's angry, he's gonna get his baby. It was such a crowd-pleasing thing from him, like, yeah! And then he chops this guy's leg, turns it, hits it right in the fucker's eye. He goes up and he's fighting the other guy, and you have the great moment where he's looking at his cut off finger and there's the wedding ring, and he gets back up, and he's beating the shit out of the guy, and he's shooting the guy, and the music's like like the Sergio Leone, like Ennio Morricone did the score for this. It's Tom and Dandy, that's the name of the guy. But I mean, has that feel to it, that Italian, like, action horror feel, and I loved it. Yes, it's dumb that he drops the gun, but because I enjoyed the film, I overlooked that stupidity, and I kind of just go, yeah, you know, his head got bashed up a few times. He's not thinking straight. It's still a dumb moment, but I still really enjoy that film. I love that finale really put it over the top for me. It was such a rousing, brutal action horror finale of vengeance, and was so satisfying. I loved it. So that would be my number one. Number two, there's some say, well, this is more of an action movie, but it does involve vampires. Blade 2 with Wesley Snipes. I love Blade 2. I love Blade 1, but Blade 2 is my favorite. It's my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie, although I do like Mimic. Blade 2, I thought it kicked ass, it took names. Wesley Snipes held that role vigorously. I love that they brought back Chris Christopherson, because he worked so well with Blade, and he has some great lines, like when he calls Ron Perlman, "Some of us can't see in the dark, you fucking nipplehead." I love that. I love I forgot the actor's name, Daryl from Walking Dead. He's in the film. I always forget that he's in the film as the kind of maybe new sidekick to Blade. I love the idea of the vampires having something to be afraid of, which is this new strain of creature that feeds on vampires and turns other vampires. I thought that was a very unique hook for the sequel. So then the vampires have to work with Blade. And, you know, Ron Perlman, he may be a crazy asshole nowadays, but he was a good actor. I like the team, even had Donnie Yen. He didn't have a whole lot to do, but it's still nice to see him in there. So I like this team of vampires team up with Blade to fight these creatures. You have some really great action scenes. Yeah, at times they kind of go into like a CGI person doing stuff, and then it'll kind of merge into the real actor. And it does look a bit hokey nowadays. But there's a lot of good, like, fight sequences in there, action sequences that hold up. That bit where Blade comes out of the vat of water and he just beats the shit out of everybody to, "That's the name of the game," is such a badass crowd pleaser moment where he's breaking necks and kicking people that are flying over, even does a damn suplex. "Can you blush?" Cuts Ron Perlman in half. I love that scene. That's such, again, a crowd-pleasing scene. And it gives you your blood, your gore. It gives you some cool creature work. I didn't mind the guy who played the villain. Again, I'm always bad with names. He would be in direct-to-video films afterward. He was in the Death Race sequels, among other films. I said, I thought it ended on a great note. Again, Chris Christopherson comes back, and he's a good ally for Blade, which is what I wanted, because I hated when he killed him off in the first one. And then they kill him off in the third one for some reason, but that film's awful in like every aspect. I like the new type of villain. The the fight scenes are satisfying. Really love Blade 2. Again, I'm a sucker for horror action, because action's my favorite genre, but I do like horror, so I love the blending of the two. And that'll be a common theme throughout this. And then number 3, this is going to make people groan. Like, what? World War Z. I know you're like, what? World War Z was one of the more surprising films I saw in a long time, because I saw the trailer. I thought it would be complete, utter junk. But when I saw the movie, yes, there's CGI involved. But man, and maybe because I waited till Blu-ray and I watched the unrated version, which, I mean, there's not a whole lot added in terms of blood or anything. There's not. It's not Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead. But that is without a doubt one of the fastest, most relentlessly paced movies I have seen in a long time. Like, I like Brad Pitt. I like the people who plays family. But when it starts, it goes, and it does not stop till the end of the movie. And that's what I loved about it. And it's a big budget. They definitely have some really well constructed sequences. Whether it be the truck blowing through traffic and everyone's getting attacked, and the holding out in the building, and then the stairwell fighting these infected. I love the idea of putting the books on your arms so that if it bites you, you're not infected. I've never seen that before, but I'm like, that's a cool idea. And that's another thing I liked about that film. Once in a while, a new idea pops up and go, I haven't seen that before. Yeah, you put books on like a shield. Okay. Or, oh my god, he does something on his face. He goes up and he's going to wait, because if he gets infected, he'll jump so he doesn't hurt his family. You know how many zombie movies I've seen where people get blasted in the face and it's nothing? No, it's like, no, you'd be worried about that. Yeah, what would a father do? Take the gun, let me make sure. I'm like, okay. And the kid's like, Dad, what are you doing? I understand the family's motivation. I understand his thought process, which makes me care about the characters more. And even from the dealing with the military and having to be very quiet, to the one place they go to where there's these barricades, but they're making too much noise and it's going everywhere is like a damn lemming. And yes, at times it's like, it's CGI, so it does kind of look silly, but at the same time, it's so unique. I haven't seen that done before. I kind of get pulled into the story. And I love the ending where, after that cool bit with the airplane, and got throw the grenade and get blown out, that one lady who's like a badass, she gets his arm cut off, but she's still a badass fighting. I liked her. And then let's quiet things down, which was a reshoot. Because in the original ending, it was like in Russia, and there's another big action set piece, and something about his wife was given to this military guy as like a sex slave, or I don't know what the hell it was about. I'm glad they reshot all that. No, it's in a hospital, and it's being quiet. It's being trying to be more suspenseful. Very different, because usually it's a big, huge, bombastic ending, a big ending. They went smaller. I thought that was actually kind of effective. Be more quiet, they get to this. And the idea of camouflage. Never really saw that idea before. That's right, it did these things where I like Brad Pitt, I like the pacing, I like some of the little ideas they throw in there I hadn't seen. That, when you see so many movies like me, that stuff means more to me than maybe it does for other people. Never read the source material, so I'm sure people who read it would hate the movie. At least that's what I've read and that's what I've seen. But I quite was pleasantly surprised by the film. I could watch it now and still be entertained by it. And that's the thing, horror films don't really scare me. Very few have. Back to the day, Maybe the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe one or two others, like Blair Witch Project, but very rarely. Because real life was scarier. Both as a kid, real life was much scarier, and nowadays real life is much scarier. So a movie doesn't scare me. So I just hope to be entertained in some way, whether it be the characters, or the action, or the imagination, or creativity, or something else in between. So number 4, I put Dog Soldiers, my favorite werewolf film. Pretty much take aliens, but make it about werewolves. Or Assault on Precinct 13, but werewolves. The soldiers, which I like the soldiers, I like the actors like Sean Pertwee, and I like the lead guy, which originally that was supposed to be Jason Statham, but I think he took John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars instead. Which at the end of the day I think was a mistake. I think I would love to have seen Jason Statham star in this movie, but I thought the guy they got did a rather good job. I like the soldiers. They're doing a training mission. Things go wrong. They gotta hightail it back. They're trapped in a cabin, and they have to figure out what to do while these werewolves are trying to get in. I love the look of the werewolves. You got some good gore moments. I like the characters. You had some fun, intense little action battles for what they could do with the budget. I thought the director really did what he could with what he had. Of course, the same director that would go do The Descent, among many other films. He also did the Hellboy movie from 2019, but even he says that's not really my movie. You know, a lot of things got screwed up. There's some interesting interviews where he talks about it, so. But I love Dog Soldiers. That'll be my number 4. Number 5, it's a tie, so it's a cheat. But because I think both of these films work very well back to back. The Collector and The Collection. I know there's talks about the third one. Please don't. The second film ended it perfectly. We do not need a third film. But The Collector, where it's like, hey, what if Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grew up to be a serial killer? I kind of like that idea. I love the character of Arkin, played by Josh Stewart. You know, a male protagonist for a horror film, which is not as common as you think. At least for this kind of film. A serial killer that will have a family, but then he'll set up all these traps in the house. Your lead character is a thief. So you have a thief versus a killer, and I like that setup. I like that premise. The traps are fun to see, as goofy or as a realistic, or maybe unrealistic, but it's a lot of fun. And I think Josh Stewart really sells the film, and I think, yeah, it's trying to be like Saw, but I actually like it better than Saw, because I think there's actually a character I could get behind, and I think the story going to the second film is a bit more intriguing, as you have this kind of back and forth between the Collector and Arkin, and you know, good bad guy, good guy. That helps a lot. And the Collector, he's trapped in this house. He gotta save this girl. And the sequel, he's been kidnapped, but then he escapes. And the family of this missing girl wants his help, kind of like Aliens. You escaped, you survived. We want you to go back. We're going to have people with you. He does. They gotta go rescue Newt. I'm sorry, we gotta go rescue this girl. And maybe that's the thing, like, it reminded me a bit of Aliens, which was a good thing. And I don't want the Collector 3 to remind me of Alien 3. But the Collection I probably liked even more, because they go to his lair, which is this spook house with all these traps. And it's like Arkin forced by these mercenaries to go rescue this girl for this rich guy. And all these traps. I like the way it was filmed. I like the creative trap sequences and death scenes. Once again, Josh Stewart really nailed his Arkin. And has such a satisfying ending. That's why I don't want a sequel. Because you cannot get better of an ending than what it did in the Collection. And yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the opening is this crazy ass giant lawnmower machine in this club. How did he build this shit? I don't know. But you know what? I had fun. I turned my brain off. And I love the Collector and the Collection. I don't need a third film. So, to me, they're a good double feature. Because the collector, I wasn't big on the ending, but then I watched the collection and that fits that. So, it's a good 1-2 punch to watch, in my opinion. So that's number 5. Number 6, The Tunnel from 2011. It is a found footage, but it's more like a fake documentary. It takes place in Australia, where there's film crew are investigating these homeless people are missing from the sewer system. They go in because they find there's something in there, and it'll show the footage, but then it'll be interspersed with interviews from 2 of the people that made it out. Which, granted, yes, does give you a spoiler warning, but at the same time, like, ooh, I wonder who survived. But I like that it provides context to what's going on. So I think that makes the story a bit more interesting. So you're able to understand, well, why did they do this? Why did they think this way? Why? And I thought the guy who played the cameraman, who's not an actor, is a real cameraman. He was very likable. I think the acting is good. I think it has a nice atmosphere with the sewer system. And I got into the story. And then when you see the creature, that you don't see a whole lot of it, but the implications are definitely interesting enough for me. And like I said, I got into the story, and especially like the cameraman character. And Lobo is that it's one of those found footage movies that not everybody dies. I know it's crazy. Sometimes it's refreshing to see. So The Tunnel would be number 6. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, number 7. I love those 2 characters. Tucker and Dale is so likable. They're, redneck hillbillies that just want to have fun and go to this vacation cabin. And they're nice guys, especially Tucker. I think it's him, like, he's very a sweetheart of a guy. I want to say, like, is it Tyler Labine and I'm so bad with names. It's going to get bright for a second. I know there's a nuclear explosion. I want to get the cast. Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk. And sadly, I don't know if this director ever worked again. Now that I think about it. Well, that's not true. He did, I think, one more film. I think. Yeah, Little Evil. I guess he directed the pilot for the Zombieland TV show, I guess. Which I forgot that was a thing. But yeah, Tyler Bean and Alan Tudyk, they have wonderful chemistry with each other. I love that it turns it on its head, the tropes of the horror slasher stuff, where it's the preppy kids who are actually the villains, and the way they judge people. They're very judgmental on these 2 guys. They automatically think these 2 guys are evil, they're terrible, and because they view them in a certain way, but then their own judgments and prejudice turn them into villains that they're not. And so the series of events where these kids end up killing themselves, sometimes very gory ways, and these 2 poor folks are stuck in the middle. That's a very unique concept. It's a very original plot. And then you have these 2 lovable guys stuck in the middle trying to get by. And I thought the love story between Tyler Bean and this one, the girl, and I forget her name, I should look it up, very sweet and heartfelt. Like I said, it has a good heart to it. There's a lot of funny moments in it, and like I said, very original concept. I love the spin they did on it. It was so refreshing. And so I would put Tucker and Dale versus Evil at number 7. Number 8, I put Session 9. Such a great, creepy movie. Atmospheric as hell. The asylum they shot in, which Sally is no longer around, rich with atmosphere, rich with dread. You just look at it, you can feel the dread oozing out of it. The way that the director had the shots, whether it be like the wheelchair and all these other moments, he really used that facility to its best ability. The actors, including David Caruso, all did their jobs fairly well. It is a slow burn where like it's people trying to get asbestos out of this facility, and weird things start happening. One guy finds these tapes, session 1, session 2, session 3, of this woman kind of, she has multiple personalities, but then you're starting to think, was some type of possession involved or was it not? And that's up to you whether you think certain characters possessed or his mind just broke. And very tragic ending, which I know I'm usually not down for, but I think just the way it was done was just so effective and just so with the like when you see how certain characters did it and the way it's edited, the sound design, the very subtle unnerving score, the way the one guy plays it, where when you find out what's going on, the last guy around, the way he plays it off, just so damn effective. I live in the weak, in the willing. Just the way it's done just gives such a shivers like vibe to it that's an effective horror film. Very effective Session 9. And I put that number 8. Number 9, I had to put this on the list because ever since I first saw it, I could not stop thinking about this movie, Willy's Wonderland. Like, it had to be on this list somewhere. I'm like, ever since I saw it, I'm like, there's rarely a week that doesn't go by that movie doesn't pop in my head. But it's such a simple but goofy premise. Nicolas Cage, with zero dialogue, comes in like the badass cowboy, has to take this job, clean this facility. He's so gun-ho to clean the facility, but then these animatronics pop up and he beats the shit out of them. He's breaking their necks. He's punching a hole through them. He's tearing them apart. Beats the shit out of them. And there are flaws. I mean, there's a bit too much shaky cam, so sometimes the fight's a little bit too hard to discern what's going on. Some of the supporting characters, like the teenagers, or how you want to call them, they're not the most likable or most built up. But man, like the way they have the animatronics look, the music that they created for the film, the way some parts of the facility is lit up, and how satisfying Nick Cage is with how he loves his pinball and he loves his energy drink as much as I love Mellow Yellow. Like, if that was Mellow Yellow, I'd be doing the same thing. Because I like pinball, I love Mellow Yellow, and I'll beat the shit out of animatronics. Especially in that shitty Five Nights at Freddy's, I'll beat the shit out of them. And that's the thing, like, Willy's Wonderland was done with such a lower budget, but with so much more of a fucking satisfying, at times gory movie, compared to Five Nights at Freddy's, which was sanitized, boring. If you want to see a guy sleep 8 times throughout the film and have the same dream 8 times, then you can watch Five Nights at Freddy's. I'll stick with Willy's Wonderland. I wish we could get a sequel. Like, maybe there's another part with other animatronics and something else happens. I know that'd be lazy, but if it's done with the same pizzazz and you have another guy, like, come on, Dolph Lundgren, come on, Jean-Claude Van Damme, do a film like that before you ride off to the sunset. It'd be a lot better than Van Damme doing, what's that movie, Kill 'Em All 2? Which just saw the trailer, it looked like shit. If I took a poll and said, which would you rather see Van Damme in? Willy's Wonderland 2 or Kill 'Em All 2? And you can't choose neither. You have to choose either. I think Willy's Wonderland 2 will work better than Kill 'Em All 2. Just saying. But yeah, that's a fun movie. And number 10 is tough. It was tough to pick. Because I was going to say Constantine, but no one ever really calls it a horror film. But it's about hell It's about a guy fighting the forces of hell. A guy that saw demons so much as a kid that he tried to end his life. You have the devil trying to take him, and then you have this cool moment where he's going to heaven. Keanu Reeves does the middle finger. I love Constantine. So if that fits, then I would put that number 10. I think that's an underrated film. I don't look forward to a sequel because Keanu does not have a good track record with sequels nowadays. I thought Bill and Ted 3 sucked. I thought John Wick 4 sucked. I thought Matrix 4 sucked. So I don't know. But I do love the first Constantine movie. So I would put that as number 10 if I could. But some people may go, well, that's not a horror film. And like Day Shift with Jamie Foxx, where he's fighting vampires, and I like J.J. Perry's direction. I love the inclusion of Scott Act as the other guy who plays these brothers, and yeah, it's such a satisfying where they're just Jamie Foxx, everybody's like beating the shit out of these vampires in this house. I thought Jamie Foxx, yeah, it's old hat with the buddy type of antics, but I'm a sucker for that. I grew up with that kind of film, and I thought him and Dave Franco worked well together. I love the usage of body count in the house from the end of Universal Soldier. I love that being used for an action sequence. What a novel concept to use that song. Because we always hear kind of the same songs. Not always, but songs, okay, yeah, that's been used 10 times. But man, that was refreshing to hear that song. So I really liked Day Shift, although the villain was pretty weak. But that was a fun film. Snoop Dogg worked well for me. If those don't count, then I would put Malignant, the James Wan film. That's my favorite James Wan flick, and that was such a nice, pleasant surprise. And try to see if I have it here. No, it actually might be over there. The Blu-ray. But yeah, that was so... Is that it? No, that's something else. I have it here somewhere. It might be over there. But that was such a pleasant surprise because when it's advertised, I'm like, oh, it's another ghost story. Because James Wan did Insidious and The Conjuring 2, which I do like The Conjuring. Conjuring 2 I don't mind. Insidious, eh. But, man, this went into such a different direction where it's an American giallo film, which I thought those aspects were kind of cool. I thought the lead girl did a good job. The way it was directed, with the way the guy made the camera work, how she saw her visions and how they were connected in kind of the same frame, same camera frame. The music was very solid. Such a great score. The look of the killer and the look of the weapon was very unique. There's some crazy gore bits, and you see the finale. I did not see that coming. I know people are like, oh, I saw it coming. Okay, you're better than me at it. I did not see that coming. That little fucking thing, basket case. I never thought I would see, like, it turned up if basket case beats John Wick. But I've never seen that before, and that was pretty fucking cool. I gotta admit, as an action junkie, where when that villain goes to town on that police station, holy shit. I went, what the fuck? It's really gory and violent and well choreographed, and the camera's not cutting 85,000 times. I went, what the fuck? I don't know how the villain knows Kung Fu. Maybe, before it became Belial, it sucked it to the Matrix and I know Kung Fu. I don't know how it knows Kung Fu. I don't know, because the script says it. So I know it doesn't make sense, but goddamn was it entertaining, and was it satisfying, and was, oh shit. I love that, so Malignant was a nice surprise. I mean, other films I enjoyed, As Above, So Below was a found footage film, but I loved the way they utilized the sewers in Paris. Very creepy setting. I liked the characters. I liked it was kind of like a Tomb Raider horror film. So his lead girl is kind of like Lara Croft, goes in for adventure, looking for clues. I liked the guy who's kind of her boy. he was her boyfriend, but then things didn't work out, but things kind of worked out for them by the end. It's an old hat, but I like the trope of it uses your fears against you. I thought for a found footage film, it was refreshing to have, again, an ending where not everyone dies. I think the setting they used was very effective. And I liked As Above, So Below quite a bit. Crawl, I enjoyed that one by Alexander Aja. I know he's doing a sequel. I hope he doesn't screw it up. But Crawl, I thought that was a fun one. I haven't seen it in a long while. I like to rewatch that film again. A lot of these films, like Willy's Wonderland, Crawl, As Above, So Below, I like to watch some of these films again. But I do quite remember enjoying them. It's not a horror film, but Mayhem with Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead. I did like him. I did like that movie quite a bit. I mean, it's violent enough to be a horror film, but I guess it's more of an action film. The Final Girls, it was PG-13, which sucked, but I liked the story of a girl whose mom was a slasher movie actress, but her mom died in a car crash that she was in as well. There's a festival going on showing her mom's movies. A fire starts. Her and her friends escape, but they escape into the movie. So it's kind of like Last Action Hero. So now they're in the slasher movie. And just the way the characters in the movie react. And I thought it was a nice trope on slasher films. But at the same time, I liked the way it had a good, heartfelt mother-daughter story. I thought was rather touching. So The Final Girls I liked. Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, I thought was a very creative concept. There's people doing a documentary on this killer that wants to be the new Freddy Krueger in a world where Freddy and Jason are real. So imagine a world like Freddy, Jason, they're all real, and a guy wants to be the new guy on that block. And you have this guy that's very charming, and it's like, I gotta do some cardio. Because these guys are running their asses off. I gotta keep walking like I try to keep up. So I liked the actor who played Leslie Vernon. The girl who's the documentary filmmaker, she was actually one of the kids in Home Alone, the first one. She's the one that talks French to Macaulay Culkin. I forget what the hell French she said, but something like, I don't know. Les incompetent, like incompetent. You know what the French call les incompetent. I think that was it. That's that girl. She's the lead filmmaker. I thought that was a nice touch on. I know the guys that did hate that film to death. I don't understand why, but teach their own. They're wrong. You fucking like long legs, but you bullshit. It's fine. We all have our disagreements. We're all not going to like the same thing. I'm just having fun because, friends goof on each other. But I like Behind the Mask. I think it's a very entertaining film. I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be. I think it's a bit underrated. I would love to have seen a sequel, but sadly that's not the case. And I quite enjoy that film. I think it's a very creative take on slashers. Robert Englund was fun as kind of the wannabe Dr. Loomis. And I liked that film. I thought it was unique. So I named more than 10, but oh well. You got 10 and extra. So thanks once again, Jack Petrie, for your kindness and for the paid request. Thanks to all for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.